do? This is the Button Pusher representing Grind City TV Network Roku, and you're tuned in to It's Yours Radio with legendary interviews, classic music, hosted by Donnie O and J Mo.
It was a wild little period around,
That was 90. That was 91. That was in 91.
Yeah, like the 90s was a little wild.
That early 90s, and again, that goes back to we talking about during that crack era.
Yeah, oh yeah, it was it was all every. Yeah, I saw
even though that situation was dealing with girl or with female situation, but still,
I saw a quote of the day that said, "Toxic masculinity." All of that shooting and all of that is just toxic masculinity. Just dudes feeling like they gotta, because nothing is worth shooting somebody or killing somebody over. So all of that toxic masculinity is born out of a lack, just masculine, just a lack of men teaching boys how to be men, how to grow up, how to have some conflict resolution, how to be all of those. You know what I'm saying? So when you see toxic masculinity, as they try to destroy masculinity, period, because they say, it leads to toxic masculinity. Nah, toxic masculinity is a pure proponent of a lack of just regular masculinity.
Yeah,
I promise you.
And that goes back to what Gator was saying with the self-love.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That goes back to that,
Shooting in the Ag Center. Think about that. In the Ag Center.
Knowledge of self equals love for self.
Busing in the Ag
Listen,
Center.
I had my roommates. I was at UMS at the time. So we came home for Thanksgiving break. I played on the basketball team. So we came home for Thanksgiving break just for that weekend. And the party, I think, was that Friday. And shout to Gibbo, because Gibbo was like, let's go to the party. We go to the party, boom, boom, link up with, the crew and everything. And things jumped off, you know what I'm saying? But the thing is, shout to my man Simon. I had Simon Edwards. Ironically, he has the program. Yep. Simon says, shoot hoops, not guns. Shout to his basketball and youth program in Baltimore. I had him with me. I had my man Droop with me. Shout to Droop, Baltimore. These cats say, yo, they don't even do this in Baltimore. Yo, this is crazy. He was like, not in the party, not in the joint.
No.
We gonna catch you outside.
Yeah, it's no shooting.
They faced off in the middle of the dance floor. It wasn't even in the middle. It was like, kind of like in the corner, and just sparked at one another.
Yeah.
Nobody died, but just the thought of that.
Just the thought of it. Yeah. So would y'all say it's probably time for us, and now that we all talking about us ascending as men, and we talking about the state of black men that in a lot of our communities, we might need to start doing such things as like manhood training. I know they quote unquote got Big Brother programs, but I ain't being funny. I'm just keeping it real.
Yes.
A lot of us that come from out of urban environments or quote unquote the hood, I think we need to start getting back in the hood more and like create our own program. You know what I'm saying? Manhood training, right?
I saw some brothers.
And my man gave me a quote. My man Slick, shout out Slick, Jermaine Wallace, right? He gave me a quote before I came here, right? He sent it to me. I don't know why he sent it. Maybe he seen the flyer for this right here. But it said, slap a nigga, rob a nigga, shoot a nigga, kill a nigga. But yet we have the inability to kill the nigga within.
Wow.
Shout you out for that, Slick.
That's what's up, Slick. I don't even know you, but that's dope.
Yeah.
We don't have the ability. We have the inability to kill the nigga within. That was when I had to screenshot that piece when he sent that to me, right? So I'm a strong believer. I'm gonna keep going back to this quote, and once again I got it from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He said, "Knowledge of self will equal love of self. Love of self will equal love for others." That means on all levels, right? That means you will start when you love yourself. That means you can't look at Elle, and I can't look at Randy, I can't look at B. Lou, I can't look at Cheese and not love you, because when I'm looking at you, I'm looking at a mirror image of myself, right? So then there's a part of me that feels like if I can't get them all, I at least got to go talk to one to save one, or start to try to collectively get some of them together, right? And that's why, like, even my paid employment, I don't even really call it a job. I call it a career. I work with the youth. trouble youth at that, DJS.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my job, but I'm ready to do something outside of that. So if some brothers want to put our heads together and we start, we can do corner talks. Let's meet them on the corner.
Bring me in.
You know what I'm saying? Let's start meeting them on the corner, whether they show up or not. You know, we got music.
Bring them in. See, that's the bait.
You know what I'm saying?
I could bring me in.
Yeah, we go ahead.
I love I love that, man. I saw some brothers on Instagram. This is one of the good. That's why I'm never mad at the technology. I'm mad at how we use it.
Yeah.
And these brothers, it was a school where they were having fights and all this just melee.
I seen it. I know where.
And some brothers decided, we just gonna go to the school every day.
Oh,
like a bunch of black dudes, just manned up and just went to the school every day. And they had no trouble. Like every day they was just out front talking to the kids, just hanging out all day. They was like, yo, we their fathers. Like, if we ain't doing nothing, who better to police our children than us?
Yo, that right there. Now, I mean, I gotta jump in on this one, right? All right, we talk about all the, because I remember one thing you had on here that we was talk about, but we talk about police brutality, right? But we yet to ever hardly address black on black crime in our own communities. So the manhood training, it don't mean we cut everything gonna change. But even if you get 5 young boys that's like willing to meet when they know on certain days, Cheese and myself and 3 or 4 other dudes, we're gonna be out on the corner and like, we ain't even gotta do all the talking. Just let them talk. Let them tell us what their problem is. And we start to come up with solutions, or we start saying, yo, look, we're gonna do a reward system if there's some behavior change where like this weekend, and it ain't far, we going to the Wizards game, bro. We going to the Sixers game, right? But while you taking that ride, Randy, that's when they give us an opportunity. We can use certain words. We can either witness to them or we can testify, B-Lou, and tell them where we came from. And that's how you start to change the state of the black man, little by little. That's your community point. That's how you start to build your community. Because each one teach one. One of them young boys gonna be like, yo, man, I went with Cheese and Mr. Gator, man, and Randy, and oh man, like my dad locked up. I ain't never even had my dad do this.
Yo,
so
Pac said it best, man. He said, I may not change the world, but I will inspire the person that does.
Yeah.
So if you could just, like you said, yo, just change. And I like a dude like this doing it because he got a street legacy.
Indeed.
So when he go talk to you,
they can relate.
You can relate to it. It ain't like some duck coming in hollering at you. It's a real dude.
Yeah, you ain't got no organization telling you what to do.
See, and that's the thing, because we always talk about, during the 60s, you had several. You had, Medgar Evers, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, then you had the Black Panther Party, So we, as black people, was like, well, where's our leaders? Our leaders are you.
Yeah,
you and you.
In the community.
You know what I'm saying? And that's where it starts at. But again, like Gator said, we can't save the world, but what we can do is influence those who are around us.
Yeah.
And if everybody would do that, like you said, each one teach one, L do a little bit.
Yeah.
Gator do a little bit. P do a little bit. I do a little bit. B. Lou, Cheese. If we all do our part, and then look, we're six degrees apart, 6 degrees of separation.
Right.
So it'll all come together at some point.
Policing your own community.
That's it.
Stop waiting for everybody to give you a community center. Create it yourself. If you ain't got a community center, at least create the community meeting spot.
Yeah. When I think about, like, you were talking about how, in the 60s and 70s we had these certain people, and then we always talk about how much the crack era affected just our thinking, our mentality, so many things. The biggest tragedy to me that comes out of the crack era, besides the loss of many black men, guys, and addictions, the fact that we didn't take any of that money and put it back into the community. That we didn't build any hospital.
Like AZ said, like you made the point with AZ.
Yeah. I mean, and he was just talking about from a commercial standpoint.
Right.
I'm just talking about from a social standpoint.
Yeah.
Like, we, gave up a tremendous amount of real estate, triage, lives to not be able to take any of that bread and put it back into our community. Like you said, don't wait for somebody to build you a community center.
We don't protect our communities because we feel like they not ours.
They're not.
And that makes a difference, right? just because of who I am and where I come from, I study a lot of mob figures. And I was watching and listening to this one mob figure, and you know what he said? He said, do you know why in our communities we have less crime on our blocks and our neighborhoods? He said, because the one thing, even though he said we were hardened criminals and we was mob, he said that's why it's also called organized crime. You know, he said in our neighborhood, all those old people we grew up with, they got the delis, little restaurants and the coffee spots. Even the lady walking down the street, we didn't even allow our dudes to like whistle at her and gawk at her. We made sure they was protected. Now, outside of that, said we might have wreaked havoc in some other places, but in our area, ain't none of that going on. It was a code of conduct. Yeah. We got to get back to policing ours the same way. Oh, absolutely. You know what I'm saying?
Well, one of the things that I would like to do is show them how to create their own income.
There you go. That's one.
Yes. You know what I mean? Because there's more ways to create income.
Oh, yeah.
Drugs is the devil's playground.
Corner classes, you know that's what I'm talking about, getting together.
You know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't taught how to create my own, found it out. And then when I tell people, oh, this is what I do. They come into my barbershop, ask them at a young age, what do you want to do? Know how to create.
Absolutely.
Figure out what you're good at and learn how to make it work for you, make some money out of it. Because God gave everybody the ability to do that. Because we've been taught through generations, this is what you do. You go to school, okay.
Get a job.
You get a job.
You go to work.
Right, you go to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
we wasn't taught.
For 40 years.
Right, for 40
Make somebody else rich for 40 years.
Right, and we wasn't taught to create our own income.
You ain't going to retire.
You know what I mean?
I look at like Hispanic community just from a case study, not even from a point of like I want to be like or what it, and you just see how the entrepreneurial spirit that they have.
They bring that to the country with them.
They do not play with that education. Yeah, like if you got a Mexican kid going to school, his parents ain't playing. Yeah. They ain't playing. Like they know.
And see, that's what I'm saying about us having to do the same thing. That's what part of manhood training should be about. Like let's teach entrepreneurship. Like I don't care if we give them a bottle of water. They do it in Baltimore. Be a water boy. Look, you get 10 of them. Yeah, look. They ain't even. Another thing about your community, about State of the Black Man, and B. Lou just said it, and you said it. Watch other cultures, and we can't shun them, we can't knock them, but we watch other cultures come to this country with a different agenda. What the hell is wrong with us?
I'm gonna tell you. Let me speak to that right there. Brother. The difference is they came here voluntarily. We didn't.
Yeah, but bro,
and not only that, but check me out. But check me out though. Check me out. And you talked about the Hispanics. I'm reading right here. Who do you think make more money, median income, by race?
Definitely Hispanics make.
No, overall. Overall.
African Americans.
No, median income?
Oh, you said median income.
Median income by race. Or group. Race, group, whatever, huh?
Asians?
There you go.
Yeah.
Even more than white folks.
Oh, yeah, they good, yeah.
And I'm going to tell you the difference. They get it together. Although they are a much lower percentage, less than 5% of the population. However, as a group, the difference is there are no laws put in place to hold them back. Right. None of those other groups. None of them been chattel slavery. Right. Listen, all of us in here, our last names our slave masters' last names. Right. We're the only group with that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're the only ones who only ones who do not know our native language. Right. We do not know where our native land, where we came from. So I work with at the Benedictine school. I work with kids as well, kids with special needs, and it's run by the sisters, the nuns, and the head of the sisterhood. She's from Ireland. She goes back to Ireland, every year because she knows her heritage. Right. Her family does, and there's several other white folks. They go to Germany. They
go to Jerusalem.
Where did we go? South Carolina.
Well, it's
crazy.
What I'm
saying? Like North Carolina,
well,
Virginia.
It's crazy. I didn't know this, but I had a girl that worked for me was from Liberia.
Mm-hmm.
And she told me,
Freetown.
I didn't know that Liberia at one point was set up to be like our Jerusalem.
Yeah, it was our
like
40th,
their
yeah.
flag is actually the American flag with one star. It was a piece of land set up for slaves to go back
Yeah, Abraham Lincoln
to
did that.
Africa. Even the United States government
They paid
even
for that.
paid for it.
No, they did.
And then at one point, it just kind of like most things, like the 40 acres and a mule,
Yeah.
like Reconstruction, like most things, it went away. But Liberia was supposed to be that.
Check this out, L.
And I never knew that.
It was the first independent country or little state-wise in West Africa.
Yeah.
Liberia, there's a town set up there called Freetown.
Yeah.
Lincoln did not know what to do
Yeah.
with us
slaves.
after chattel
Yeah.
slavery, and it actually really didn't want us to be because it was
Yeah.
such turmoil in
We
the
were
South
refugees,
and the
right.
North. So you get,
Yeah.
all right, just like we go to school and you learned about the Louisiana Purchase. And all that.
Yeah.
That was purchased by the French.
Right.
But we had already purchased bits and pieces
Yeah.
in Africa,
They had set
and
it up. Yeah.
Liberia was one of them. Case in point is why Liberia ended up being so poor, because once they set them there, and there was a lot of people that
Yeah.
got on the boat
Yeah, and went.
back, they offered to pay for it and give you a piece of land and a stipend.
Subsidized.
Well, check this out, and then this goes back. I'm gonna go back to that, and Malik. This is gonna kind of piggyback on
One of
the
the first
Asians
leaders was
about
from
the
Eastern Shore,
the
too.
Asians. Okay, check this out. It goes back to value because listen, the United States and the Asians, the Europeans in the United States and the Asians, they have a great working relationship. Why? Because they have China, Japan, all they have countries who are well established, and they help these cell phones. All this technology comes from there. You know what I'm saying? So they have value. So they can't mistreat them. Remember when those folks were bashing and hurting the Asians,
came
and
out
they
for
came
that.
out with a law.
Yeah.
Right
away.
Right away. We've been fighting for this over 400
Right
years.
away.
We have no leverage. And that goes back to the value. That goes back to what you were saying.
value.
We're still looked at as property.
No
We're still
value.
looked at
The
as
fact-
inhuman
the fact
to many of
The
Go ahead.
fact that we still haven't really, like America, like with all the stuff that black people have endured in America, the fact that we really still don't talk about how we were locked out of the economic
Redlining.
redlining,
Yeah.
the economic equity that a lot of other cultures have in America, black people don't have.
Yeah. Well, let me finish up real quick, L, because I want to finish up on the African side. Because even with Africa, like go back to the motherland, they don't own that because that's been gutted by Europe,
Dutch,
Russia,
French,
China, everybody.
Germany.
Exactly. They took the research. The Europeans took the sweat equity, the people.
Portuguese.
Yeah.
But then look at the resources: oil, gold, diamonds,
Yeah.
all that. Right. So they gutted that. So we don't even have that to lean on as okay. Well, what do we have? You know
well,
what I'm saying?
there is some of them that have reached their independence and have gained control of their land again.
I mean,
Well,
Ghana is a country that's really
Mhm.
on the come up.
Yeah,
And
I'm
the other
saying
thing-
as a whole
yeah.
compared to
Well,
like
Africa's
China and
Yeah,
those
yeah,
countries.
yeah.
Africa's
You know what I mean?
always been such a tough place because it's so many different languages. We look
Yeah.
at it and we think, it's like America. When really,
There's
each-
52 countries
it's 50 something
in that
countries
continent.
In that
That's not-
continent.
yeah.
Right.
But besides on a global stage,
Uh-huh.
let's talk about us, and if we had even a 10-point program of reaching in a certain amount of freedom and independence for ourselves,
Mhm.
right? When I say freedom, I ain't talking about breaking no chains, but independence. Because when you become independent and you start to do more for self, the other man starts to respect where you at more, because now you're not an inferior and you are on a level playing field. Like my man said, listen, I don't care what kind of building or what kind of nationality I walk into, I walk in as myself because I'm free.
Mhm.
I'm mentally free, like my man said. So I don't deal with nobody with inferiority. I can't talk like that. It's just not in my character and nature. I will not allow you to treat me like a superior
Yeah, like
or
inferior.
inferior.
No doubt.
And the crazy part about it is, not only at work, but in a lot of places, a lot of my Caucasian counterparts, they end up falling in love with me.
They
'cause
respect
it's
you
like,
when you look 'em
yo,
in the
it's
eye
something different about this brother. Like
Yeah.
I don't be shucking. I don't be
Yeah.
putting my
They
tail
respect
between
you when
my
you
leg.
when you can look them in the
Yeah.
eye and articulate
'Cause
exactly what it is you feeling.
Cause I'm free. But like getting back to collectives, Salisbury, Cambridge, Easton, we actually have a power boom that we don't even know that we sitting upon. If we had that collective community stuff, forget the breakdown of like, yo, I'm Pentecostal over here, I'm Methodist over here, I'm Baptist over here, or I'm non-denominational, I don't believe in nothing. Because I'm going to tell you something. Our church used to be called the cornerstone of the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we got, as black people, because we talking about our ills, so we're going to talk about it. State of the black man, right? And I have no disrespect. I love the black church. I come from the black church, right? My mother's still a part of the black church. But when we look in our communities, we have more churches, and this is not bashing them. I'm just making a point, right? Please understand.
Yeah.
We have more religious organizations than we have businesses, because you was talking about businesses, B. Lou. And if we had more businesses, or if the church, a part of the church, was also used as an economic teaching base, you know what I'm saying? Not just a religious teaching base, an economical and a mental teaching base, because we are a people that's we mentally dead to a degree. And we steeped in ignorance to a lot of things, especially financial literacy. As far as most of our financial literacy go, everybody know how to make their division and do tithes. But you don't know how to make your division and do other things. You know what I'm saying? And if we start to use some of these bases that we got, like we don't have to go out and invent the wheel, but like let's use some of these bases to get a little more involved. Let's start hitting the corner, or even just inviting people to your parking lot and start to talk about other things. So let's create a daycare, but that's affordable. That creates jobs. That creates jobs. That creates a safe haven for your children to start to go. Now I'm gonna say one more thing. If they won't treat you right, what makes you think they will teach you right? So if you start to teach your own, you feel where I'm coming from? From whatever basis you got, then we can take even from the base, and I'm just using the black church as one, because there's one, and I could go right in Salisbury on Jersey Road and West Road. There's almost one every half mile or less from each other. It's so many, but then when we go to look for businesses, we don't have any black-owned dry cleaners. We don't have hardly any black-owned laundromats. Us. Look, I'm not blaming other men. I'm talking about us. Right, but I'm saying here's part of the solution. If we start to have these manhood training classes and start to talk about that, and we also start to talk about some of our pastoral leaders and say, hey, can we, let's try something different. Let's start to set up some economic blueprints for our community, because Pastor, I know you got enough parishioners here. Buy a Coinbase laundromat down the street that y'all could own, that could still pay for the building here.
Dude is going so hard right now. This dude is going so hard right now.
I'm a speak.
That's real rap.
And I'm not trying to defend the pastors, but listen, a lot of pastors from a certain generation, they don't have business in them. I'm gonna just keep it 100. They barely even conducting business at their church.
Keep the church afloat.
You know what I mean? So I'm not gonna put all the pressure on the church. No, I'm not saying you are. I'm not saying you are. And I'm in church. Those that don't know me, I proclaim to be a Christian. But I'm just telling you, as a person who teaches business, I teach people how to start businesses. A lot of those people don't even know how to do that. So it's a certain generation. Hopefully our generation can help. That's what I take pride in, going back into the community, helping people how to start, teaching people how to start business so they can be entrepreneurs, and show them the benefit of how even at the church is a benefit, in the community is a benefit. But it is a lost generation out there, y'all, that didn't know how to do the business.
Well, let's take.
Well, yes, do it, man. I don't listen. It's hard to stop talking about that day, this, that.
Well,
just do it, and people out here doing it too.
Let's take it back. Let's take it back to the 50s and 60s, because it's not like it hasn't been done and it can't be done. Because in the 50s and 60s, when we had no other choice but to build, we had everything in our own community. Talk about the Hill.
Oh my
And, you know what I'm
God.
saying? The Hill is the
Dude.
oldest black community
Listen.
in the nation, the oldest free black community in the nation. We had everything
When you
there.
talk about value, we talk about value, and this
All
is,
black
this,
owned.
This speaks directly to it. Like I am such a lover of the Hill that I drove through it a couple weeks here for. It broke my heart to see what it is now,
Yeah.
and it's like I'm like, yo, I you know, and I guess, you know, as black people, you were saying you get more money, you get a bigger house, you want to move out, but to see that community that was such a vestige to who we were, just completely.
Yeah.
It's just another group of people that live there now.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
get it, but I'm like, yo, man, we didn't even. But again, it speaks to identity. Like, you got to look at, man, this is my community.
And
I see
build
some
it up.
value in it. I don't want
Right.
to see it. I don't want to see it fall in the hands of somebody else after it's been in our hands for so long.
We were looking to move out and
Yeah.
and like going back to that validation.
Right.
I want to live in the gated community.
Yeah,
I want to live out,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying, as opposed to building what was already ours
Yes.
for so long.
Yes.
I mean, and back to Gator's point, you know, as far as like think about it. In most black communities, I don't care what cities you're going, of course, with gentrification, all that, but for the most part, all you see is no slight to be lewd, but barbershops and hair salons. That's it for the most part. You know what I mean? Where the schools at? Where the hospitals at? Where the banks at? Where the dry cleaners at? Where the car washes at? Where the car dealerships at?
I
Where
totally
the
agree.
accountant companies at?
I totally agree.
You know what I'm saying? So we don't have
totally
any of
agree.
that. And to your point, Gator, earlier we were talking about, we don't own anything. Think about it. This is be as blunt as possible. If we got people always talk about, well, black people, we need to go do our own thing. No, I almost said something. We'll fall apart because we don't know how. First of all, we don't produce anything. All we know how to do is buy. We don't have any farms. We wouldn't know how to survive without the white man.
Right.
So let's just put it where it is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We wouldn't know how to when it comes to engineering and building and blueprints. We don't, because we're handicapped because we're so used to leaning on the white man, going to, like B-Lou's point, going to him for a job, and I got my $100,000 government job and I'm good and
Trust
I'm
me.
living, you know what I'm saying? But if that white man want to get rid of you, then what you gonna do?
All of that
Man,
is
listen.
a facade.
COVID has showed us something
Yeah,
that
all of that
all
is
that stuff can be taken away.
all of that's a
So what are you gonna do
Yeah.
when you left the fence for yourself? And
All
we
of
talk
that.
about, we got to come together.
That shows the power that we have inside. If you look at girls got creative, started cooking in the house more. Girls learn how to do. All the guys figured out, let me get a press, make my own T-shirt.
That's
And
great
then it
though,
just-
Gator. That's great. But what has the hood changed?
No,
Have we
but-
changed?
But again,
and I get what you're saying.
Again,
I get what
say-
you're saying.
I say that to say
it has to be a
again,
starting point.
Yeah,
I say
indeed,
that. I
indeed,
say that.
indeed.
The issue. I say that again.
Ain't gonna change overnight. I
Social-
understand that.
Social conditioning is a mug,
Yeah.
and the only thing that you can do to offset that is actually take some steps in your community, like if you want to, we're flushing out the problems. Now we're trying to talk about the
Solutions, and that's what the whole point of this is. Yeah.
And again, the hood may always have a tough time changing because it's a
The
mentality.
mindset, yeah.
It's a mindset. It's
Yeah.
not black people didn't lose their money in a dice game.
It was cool to see, Busy B go up there and he threw a quick little jab at Pooh Moo D.
Yes.
But it was funny though, Pooh took it in stride and, Busy B gave him his props too. He's like, yeah, you one of the cats I look up to, you black mother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Pooh Moo D started laughing, and it's like, yeah, okay. But it was just good to see all of that. And we talking about MCs, solo. We talking about group and nice and smooth. We talking about part of a duo with Pete Rock and CL Smooth. And Pete Rock is a producer, Kick Free is a DJ and producer, artist, the whole nine.